Blog Talk Radio, the world's largest online radio network.
Your Friday night would not be complete without your favorite radio show in mind. It is that time again, folks. Grab an easy chair, grab your headphones, grab a drink of your choosing, pull up, sit down, relax, and prepare for 2 hours of madness, insanity, and all the shenanigans that goes along with hooliganism as its finest. Pull No Punches Radio, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Before I get into what we're running down for tonight, let me go ahead and introduce, of course, the telephone number here, which is 347-996-3485. And, of course, the cast of characters who you'll be taking this journey with tonight. Myself, of course, being Jay Pagliaro. My tag team partner in crime, the one and only Irish hand grenade, Marcus Davis. The man behind the board, the one you'll hear before you get on the air, and the one you'll hear that'll be keeping you all in line, Paul Baker. We'd like to thank you for joining us here for this Friday evening. Marcus, how you doing tonight, bro?
Good, man. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, not bad. Things are surviving here. How's everything on your end, brother? How you feeling? How's everything going on your side?
Yeah, things are good. I've just been, it's good, but I've been incredibly busy as far as the school, other stuff that I do outside of the school, training on my own, and doing some of the personal training that I do with other clients. But anyways, yeah, life is good. Things are busy. Home life is busy. And that's it, man. Like I told you tonight, my wife, who does way too much in life. Not only does she work a full-time job, and she's got a very important position in the field that she works in, but she's also the soccer coach for two of my daughters' school, and she's also the track coach for the school, and she's also the assistant cheering coach now, which she just started now for the school. But tonight they have a soccer sleepover for finishing the season and everything. So my 12-year-old daughter was part of that soccer team, so they are over at our school. They're doing a big sleepover over there, and I am, Mr. Mom tonight with my 6-year-old daughter who's in the other room, like a ticking time bomb, waiting to run in here and disturb our radio show.
Hey, never a dull moment, though, for you, right? Never a dull moment, never free time for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if she comes in, we should get her on the radio. Get her on the air, Marcus. Let her give her thoughts on air, yeah?
Oh, you don't want that to happen, man. If you guys think I'm if you ever get nervous about what I might say, she's twice as bad as me, man. And she's out of her mind. Well,
that being said, now, of course, Marcus with us. And Marcus, we may be getting some company from the next generation of the Davis clan. But what we got on the program tonight, though, is we have a couple of interviews slated. Now, we do have an interview slated with Dan the Beast Severn. As of 7:30, I haven't heard back from Dan at exactly what time he's supposed to come on. So I'm going to say there's a 50-50 chance he doesn't show up, but we'll promote it as he does, just in case he does show up and it's not a pleasant surprise. We do have an interview slated with Dan Severn. One I can guarantee and confirm that is coming on. We'll be having Bellator 155-pound champion Michael Chandler. He'll be joining us at about 10 after the hour. And, of course, Colton Smith, our Tough 16 correspondent, will be coming on at about 30 after here on hour number 1 to recap Tough 16, what happened last week. And call me crazy, but me has a suspicion that you might be seeing Colton fight on The Ultimate Fighter sooner rather than later, i.e. tonight. I'll just let you fill in the blanks. Colton's leaving the night early because he's got a watch party to go to. You figure out the blanks as to what's going on at that watch party. But, yeah, I didn't say nothing. I'm not spoiling nothing. But we got that going on. Also, we got a ton of topics to discuss. Mainly the big thing right off the bat, the King reigns again. Anderson Silva, Marcus, goes through Stephan Bonner, runs through him. First person to officially finish Bonner. I'm sure as Paul was very disappointed and distraught about that one. But I want to start this I want to start out the show by talking about that fight. And basically, though, the reaction of the fans. And it almost seems like the higher up the rung you get, or the higher up the higher up the profile the UFC gets in general, you're in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Now, case in point, we all know what John Jones went through at 151, turned down the fight with Chael Sonnen as a lose-lose situation for him, decided to bypass on that fight for the time being. I say for the time being, and we'll get into that news here in a few moments. But Anderson Silva takes an equally lose-lose fight with Stephan Bonnar, which I know Bonner's one of your friends, Marcus, and I know you've trained with Bonnar in the past. You have a good opinion of him. But being realistic, being straight-up honest, and being completely unbiased, that was a pretty big Bonnar would have gained a lot more from beating Silva than Silva did from beating Bonnar. You know that as well as I do.
Absolutely.
Yet the MMA fans are getting on Silva for taking the fight. Now, I'm confused. What end are these guys supposed to run in, Marcus? You know, you got one who gets criticized for not taking win, lose fights. Then you got Silva who tries to play the company man role, take a fight on short notice, and he gets criticized for not fighting tougher competition. I mean, can these guys win?
Yeah, you know, we've always said this, that MMA fans are the most fickle fans there are, period, that I could ever, you know, I can't think of another sport or anything where there are fans that are more brutal. With that said, I do have a little bit of a kind of a twist on this, my opinion, and that is this. He was okay about fighting Stephan Bonnar. You know, here he is. He's cool with fighting Stephan Bonnar, and as you said, I'm friends with Stephan, and I have this is not a knock on him when I say this, but who has Stephan beaten that's relative right now? You know, he hasn't really done a whole lot. And he did take that fight. Now, that's good. That was good that it happened, and Stephan took that, and we had that fight. My problem is this. Why would then Anderson Silva keep saying, well, I'm not going to fight Chris Weidman. He doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve it. That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, this isn't, you know, this is, like I said, this isn't, this is a little more of a spin on this issue with the fans. The issue with the fans are gonna, you know, he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. No matter who he fights, they're gonna say, the guy's a bum, or he got lucky. You know, that's just the way MMA fans are. You know, or that fight sucked, or they're gonna do whatever they can do to find something wrong with something. But I do have a problem with the fact that, you know, he jumped right to the opportunity to fight Stephan Bonnar, and he was cool with that. But he keeps saying that he wouldn't fight a guy like Chris Weidman because he doesn't deserve to fight him, where Chris Weidman's had some pretty good wins, I think.
No, absolutely. I mean, and not only has he had some pretty good wins, he's won so impressively, and I don't disagree with you on that. I mean, we've had discussions on this show in the past about Silva's reluctance to fight Weidman, or to a lesser degree our buddy Tim Boach. You know, but I mean, he won't take those fights because they're not high profile enough. But let's be honest, like you elaborated on, when's the last time Bonnar really was in a high profile fight? I mean, and you know, to be honest with you, and again, no dig on Bonnar, this isn't a knock on him, but the last really high profile fight I can remember Bonnar being in was Griffin 2. I mean, and, you know,
right.
He went through that really, really rough period of time to where, you know, he blew his knee, he pissed hot, he suffered 2 or 3 losses in a row. Now, granted, it wasn't a crappy competition. He lost to some talented names, including the young John Jones. But since then, you know, he's managed to pick up, 2 wins in a row. He's managed to pick up 2 or 3 wins in a row, beating Kyle Kingsbury, Igor Prokragic, and Krzysztof Sosinski. Nothing wrong with those guys. They're talented, but does that mean, you know, are any of them right now, with all honesty, are any of them better than Mark Munoz, Damian Maia, and hell, even Alessio Sakara?
Right. Yeah, that's, you know, that's my point, man. You know, I think that this is kind of his way of, it's tough to say that Anderson Silva would avoid anybody because he is arguably the best or greatest MMA fighter at this point ever. You know, he has done things that nobody else has done. But as we know that it doesn't matter how great you are, how good you are, who you beat, there's always somebody out there that's going to have your number. And as we know, he does have an Achilles heel. And, you know, wrestling is one of those things. And I don't know, man. I just think that that's where, if I was a normal MMA fan that was complaining, that's where my complaint would be aimed at. It wouldn't be aimed at the fact that he actually took the Bonner fight or whatever. It would be aimed at more so, hey, if you're willing to fight Bonner, why aren't you willing to fight Weidman? Why aren't you willing to fight, you know? That's where mine would be focused on.
Right, and that's a valid argument. But I mean, the biggest one I've heard, and surprisingly, or maybe not, the name that wasn't mentioned was Chris Weidman. The biggest name that people have complained about is why hasn't he fought, and why didn't he fight John Jones? Which, you know, why don't he fight John Jones? The same reason why Anderson Silva hasn't fought GSP yet. Both parties have to agree to it, and we can sit there and, you know, we could scream to the hills, hey, Anderson should fight Jones. Hey, Jones should fight Anderson. Fact of the matter is, you know, it's if both sides don't want to fight, the fight's not going to happen. And we've seen both Jones and Silva go on record and say they don't want to fight each other. So, I mean, does it mean they're docking? No. I mean, there are other avenues and facets behind that. But, I mean, you're right, though. He should have taken the fight. I think, you know, if he's going to fight somebody, he should fight Weidman. You know, and that's the one case where I think Bellator, I really want to give Bellator credit in this avenue because, you know, the tournament, the way they run things takes all the bullshit out of the equation. There is no, you know, politics or no why is this guy fighting him, as we're seeing in the 205-pound weight class in the UFC with Chael getting a title shot despite not having fought in the division in 6 years. I mean, you know, until UFC gets a tournament format, which I don't think we're ever going to see, you're going to have these things happen. And as for Anderson, I mean, taking the fight on short notice, a lose-lose situation fight for him, and going out there and just truly dominating Bonner. And it wasn't, folks, you know, that Bonner didn't go out there and try. Bonner went out there and fought a typical Stephan Bonner fight. He just got outclassed. And I'll tell you what, if I hear one more person say it was worked, I'm going to just simply recommend you go to your local MMA gym, take a knee to the solar plexus, and tell me it's worked. Because if you've ever been kneed to the solar plexus, which, Marcus, I'm sure you've been in that predicament many, many times, it is the most physically uncomfortable spot you could ever get in. And believe me, imagine having Anderson Silva nail you in the solar plexus with a knee. It's not pleasant. I can only imagine it has to rank right up there with kidney stones and labor as the most painful things on earth.
Yeah, man, you know, as you know, not just a fighter and had to take some of those, you know, every now and then, you know, you're going to take a shot like that. But I take them every single day with a body shield on because I train and I pad people all the time. Like, a day doesn't go by that I'm not training somebody or I'm not padding somebody other than Sunday. Sunday would be the only day that I'm actually not focus padding somebody or whatever. And I take those knees, whether they're flying knees, regular knees, or you know, kicks to the body or whatever, to that body shield, and I can feel it through that. And I have been hit hard enough in the solar plexus with that shield on where, you know, I don't want to say I lost my wind, but I came close to. So, you know, you know, people can. That's like, you know, a man can say, oh yeah, you know, getting kicked in the nuts is going to be worse than giving birth. And, you know, but he's never walked in those shoes or I should say been in that vagina. So as the same thing as a woman saying, you know, which I've heard before from a woman say, well, getting punched in the boob is just as bad as a man getting kicked in the nuts, where I gotta argue that fact. You know what I mean? When, you know, you've been with women that have asked you to, you know, treat their breasts like speed bags, and there's no way that, I would ever ask you to treat my sack as a speed bag. So, I think there's a huge difference.
Yeah, I just a tad. I mean, just a tad. And I'll tell you what, I've seen some of these girls, like you said, as a speed bag. I've been in boxing gyms, and I haven't seen them speed bags fly as much as some of these girls will get theirs slapped on. But I digress. But I just think it's funny. Once again, every time a fight goes on a shall I say questionable ending, people want to automatically cry fixed, and they cry work, and it wasn't, like I said. I implore anybody to take a knee. It's no thanks. I can think of 1,000 things I'd rather do than take a knee. Only thing I would say I wouldn't take a knee for is if I had a choice between taking a knee from Anderson Silva to the solar plexus and give 4 more years of Obama, I would probably take the knee, but it's close. It's a close call. It's a close call. What about you?
I'll take that knee right in the nuts, actually, to save this country. That's the kind of man I am.
That's a man of the USA. He bleeds red, white, and blue. Paul, what do you think? Needed a natch from Anderson Silva or 4 more years of Obama?
Are you kidding me? He could wear a freaking spiked knee brace and then knee me in the nuts with that before I take Obama.
Yeah.
That's impressive, man. You are a true American.
Yes, indeed. And it's no irony you live in Philadelphia, so I mean, that's American Pride 101. American Pride 101.
I was gonna try to top that, but any other thing would mean death, and I kind of do want to be alive for my kids and stuff. So. Yeah.
And unfortunately, fortunately, Marcus, we only have a couple more weeks left, and if the latest Gallup polls are any indication, we might get our wish, and we might be rid of the Obama czarship. Him and his family might be headed back to Hawaii sooner rather than later.
Oh God, man, I pray that's where we're heading.
Did you get to see the debate at all on Tuesday?
Yes, I did. I watched. Typical, what I have to do is I watched maybe about 30 minutes of it, and I started to get so wound up that I knew that if I kept watching it, I would, and I have to get up at like 5:30 in the morning, so I knew that I wasn't going to be able to sleep. I knew that it was going to drive me crazy, so I had to turn it off and I had to go to sleep. So, so what I did, obviously, is when I got up the next morning, the first thing I'm doing is I'm on my iPad reading what everybody's saying, and I went to at least 10 different news websites and read their polls, what they thought, what they said, even the liberal ones, and seeing what, fish into it all and trying to come up to my own, what I thought. And, I can only hope that what we're seeing now in the polls is because, that should have been I think that, I have faith in the American people now where I didn't before. And I think that what happened is that they watched that. And even the people that were kind of in between might have seen that and said, you know what? This was a orchestrated debate where this woman was handing him, lobbing him like underhand little softballs to him, and for him to hit him home, and he still couldn't dominate the discussion the way he should have been able to, because it was all in the areas that he should have been more familiar with, on top of, I believe it was something like Romney was interrupted 28 times to Obama's 4 or something like that. I mean, and Obama had an extra 4 minutes and 30 seconds to talk over Romney. With all of that and the American people seeing that going, wait a minute, this wasn't even fair, and he still didn't dominate the conversation. So, I think that's what we're seeing, is that people have seen that and are going, you know what, this is bullcrap.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, between between this week and the farce it was last week, where Paul Ryan got interrupted 109 times by Joe Biden and the moderator. I mean, these are supposed to be fair, impartial, and unbiased. And the liberals will always be ones to bash on Fox News. But let me tell you, anybody that thinks these were unbiased and impartial freaking moderators, at least the last two, I'm afraid that you don't know what unbiased and impartial is, because these were anything but. I mean, it almost seemed like Obama was ready to, or the moderator was ready to ask Obama, how's Michelle and the kids? You know, I mean, they're throwing all these hardball questions at Romney, and I think he did fairly well for himself. I think he's done fairly well for himself in all three debates, and I think Obama's done a lot to sink himself. I mean, just several cases in point. Last week in the vice presidential debate, Joe Biden claiming Iran's not a threat. Really? Marcus, I've been around for I'm 33 years old, and Iran has been a threat to the United States for as long as I've been alive. So, and I imagine they're going to be a threat for the remainder of my life. So that's a factual inaccuracy. And my favorite one, though, is on Tuesday's debate, where Obama claims, and I made a direct claim, that the reason the gas prices are rising is because of this hike in the economy. Does that make sense to you? Let's jack the prices up because more people are employed, which is a questionable claim to begin with. But I found both of them moderately amusing, to say the least.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and just to watch, like, even the moderator, how she actually came to Obama's defense, which you're not supposed to do in a debate. To, like, she's not supposed to have any opinion or say anything about that kind of stuff. And not only did she lied about it, and then later on after the debate, she then admitted, when nobody's around, she admitted, where it's too late, she admitted that she was wrong about what she said. When she came to his defense and said that in the Rose Garden he said it was a terror attack. And then she later on said, oh, wait, no, he actually didn't do that. It's unbelievable, man, what they're trying to get away with and what's going on.
Oh, it's truly borderline unconscionable. I mean, I laugh at the whole ordeal because it's these were clearly handpicked Obama guys, and it's one avenue I wish that Ryan or Romney would have really attacked Obama on and Biden on is this question. Okay, you claim 7.9%. How many of that 7.9%, A, either got denied unemployment compensation, B, had their unemployment compensation run out because you chopped it down from 99 weeks to 72, or C, are collecting county assistance because they're on the working poor and working a $7.25 an hour at McDonald's? I mean, listen, I've never, and I know people say go get a job, and they're right. I've never walked past a McDonald's that didn't have a help wanted sign up, but who can live on $7.25 an hour? So that's the question that should be posed. I mean, how many of those are collecting poor? How many of those are what they define as a working poor? Yeah, maybe there's more people working at McDonald's, but guess what? The county dole is up. More people are collecting food stamps. So you figure out the math on that, Marcus. You figure out the math on what's what and who's who.
Yeah, man. I'm not even going to be able to sleep tonight, man. This is, this stuff drives me crazy.
Totally. I weep for our future. I weep for it every day. And fortunately, we're starting to see that the people are starting to wise up. Hopefully, come election day, people don't get the Obama phone. People don't get starry-eyed by the Obama phones and the Obama, the illegal immigrants being able to vote. Hopefully, they don't get starstruck by that and they vote as the Gallup polls say they're going to vote.
Yeah, man, we can only hope. I mean, I think that there's a lot of, I don't know, man. There's so much going on, and it's hard to sift through what is real in this election and what is propaganda from either side. So, you know what I mean? It's just really hard, and people who listen to this show and the way that I'm talking and stuff, might think, because the way that I'm talking, that I'm a Republican, but I'm not a Republican. I consider myself to be a conservative type person as far as, my moral fiber and the way that things that I think, but that doesn't mean that I'm not necessarily a Republican, because let me tell you, I think that there have been horrible, horrible Republican presidents. I think that there are bad, obviously, bad Republican people in the government, whether it's a senator or a governor or whatever. But with that said, I'm not going to go. I don't like anybody who is a government official that doesn't look at our Constitution as it is basically the Bible for this nation. And if that's not the way you're looking at it, and you're not trying to make all the decisions for what's best for this nation according to what the Constitution dictates, I got a problem with that.
I actually agree with you 100%, Marcus. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Dan Severn just called Jay, so Jay dropped off real quick, and we have Michael Chandler on the line. I just wanted to bring him on in the meantime, so we can get back
Awesome.
going.
All right, great. All right, bring him on. Michael, you on here, buddy?
Hey, guys, how are you?
Hey, Michael, how's it going, man? This is the Irish Training Day, Marcus Davis. It's awesome to have you on here, man. I'm pretty psyched. And Jay should be right back on here any moment. He dropped off for a moment because our the legend Dan the Beast Severn is supposed to be on tonight also. So I think he's having a conversation with him. So how you doing, man? What is going on in your neck of the woods right now?
I'm doing good, man. Just training, just trying to get better in every aspect. Moved down to Alliance down in San Diego about 3.5 months ago, and been down here working with the coaches and the training partners, and just having a blast.
So who down there? What kind of guys? Who is it that you're training with down there?
Down here at Alliance, we got Eric Del Fierro is our head coach. Adrian Melendrez is our boxing coach. We got Doug Balzerini with our strength and conditioning. And then as far as guys I'm training with, we got Ross Pearson fighting in December, Vince Fichel fighting in December, Ruben Duran fighting in December, and the UFC all on the same card. And then Miles Jury, Nick Piedmont, Dominic Cruz, Brandon Vera, Phil Davis, Paul Bradley. There's all kinds of just ton of guys down here who all,
wow.
All just kind of, they all kind of fit my style real well because I come from that wrestling background where you show up and you listen to the coach says you're doing this, this, and this, and we say, okay, here we go, and it's great for my, kind of my philosophy on the way, athletes should be training, so it's working out real well for me.
Absolutely. I mean, that is a list of the who's who in MMA, especially where you've got, you got a lot of the up-and-coming guys kind of like yourself. I mean, right now, with a record, you're 10-0. There's only been two guys lucky enough to even see a decision with you. You've got as many knockouts as you do submissions. You went on and you won the Bellator tournament. What are we looking at now, though? Well, then won the Bellator tournament, then you went on and schooled the champion, and did what nobody else is able to do, and went right through them and submitted them. What are we looking at now? Because the rumor is, or my understanding is that you're scheduled or supposed to be fighting Rick Hahn at some point. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I am scheduled to fight him. It's that's the thing about Bellator. You know who you're fighting months in advance usually. And I was hoping to get a fight this fall. I only got one fight this year, so it's just been a lot of patience for myself and a lot of testing myself, just being able to, stay the course and not worry about of course, what I'd like to be fighting 3 or 4 times a year, being young and hungry and healthy, But I'm set to fight Rick Hahn in January. Is what's going to happen now. And he's a tough guy, judo Olympian, man. I got a ton of respect for him. Excited to go out there and test myself against him. He's a powerful guy, knocked 2 guys out in the tournament, and then beat a pretty good seasoned veteran and Brent Weidman in the finals of that tournament. And like I said, man, this has been a big growing year for me. Mainly because I did a lot more training than I did fighting, and I think I've grown a lot as a person and as an adult. Trying to go through obviously the frustrations of not being able to fight whenever I'm hungry and healthy. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at it though, too, I mean, granted, you haven't fought for about 6 months, and but either is Han. Han hasn't fought for I think 5 months. Or how long? Let me think. Yeah, about 5 months. I think Han hasn't fought. Now, what is it that you're right now? What is it that looking at that fight with Rick Hahn? What are you most concerned with?
I don't have a ton of concerns. I mean, there's not one concern that sticks out. He's pretty tough all the way around. He's a tough guy. He's an Olympian, and it doesn't matter if you're an Olympian in judo or ribbon dancing or curling. You're a competitor, and you know how to train, and you know about the sacrifices and the discipline that it takes to become a champion and compete at a high level. So right away, right there, being a judo Olympian, I mean that's going to put him head and shoulders above a lot of guys that you're going to step into the cage with right away. And he's got a heavy right hand. He's tough. He showed a lot of endurance, going the distance in a lot of his fights. So he's dropping down from 170. So he's supposedly supposed to be a little bit bigger than me, but I've seen him in person. I don't really think he's going to be much bigger than me or bigger than me at all. But I'm just excited for the fight. I'm more focused on myself getting better, and it's been such a blessing to be able to move down here and working with great coaches and training partners that are just getting the better of me a lot of times and being able to push myself mentally and physically. And I really think when I step into the cage in January, I'm going to be a completely different fighter than the Alvarez fight was like the last real time people actually saw me in the cage. The Gono fight was 56 seconds, and we kind of circled for 35 seconds, and then before you knew it, the fight was over. So I didn't really get to showcase any kind of new skills that I picked up. So I just feel like I've grown as a mixed martial artist, and I'm hopefully going to go out there and exceed people's expectations.
Absolutely, Michael, but
go ahead, Mark.
Hold on, Jay. I was just going to say that you got to remember, and this is coming from an old man, Michael, and that's that fights like the Akuri Gono fight, which Akuri Gono is huge, is a huge name to have a win over your record, but to have a fight like that where you knock a guy out in 56 seconds will make for a long career. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in your 20s and have a face that looks like mine, because you're not gonna. You know what I mean? You don't want to look like Frankenstein's little kid, and because if you do, it's not gonna. My 6-year-old might come out of that room and hit me in the face and split me open. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, did anything from his fight with Rick Hahn's fight with Jay Haran? Have you seen anything that might stand out in your head? Being that Jay Haran is a wrestler, but obviously I'm familiar with you. I've seen you fight and everything, and you're a different kind of wrestler. You know what I mean? I think that the way that you apply your wrestling and your ground game, which is phenomenal, the way that you apply it is more wrestling like for MMA. You do a really good job. Like there are wrestlers that I've seen that just can't apply it. It's not applicable to MMA. But you have a great MMA wrestling style. Is there anything that you picked up from the Jay Haran fight?
No, not necessarily from that fight in particular. I mean, in that fight, Jay's a real defensive counter striker and real elusive and that kind of stuff. And me personally, I am not programmed that way. I can't help myself but to as soon as that bell rings, I come forward, So I definitely can't take that approach because it's just something that's ingrained in me, and I can't do it. So, but I appreciate that a lot, man. I really want to be that guy who is an advocate for wrestling. I want to be able to tell you guys, I want to be able to tell anybody that says, man, you're having such great success in MMA, why? And my simple answer is because I wrestled at the University of Missouri for 5 years, and I have gone through what a lot of people haven't gone through, and I've been to deep waters, and I've pushed myself to positions where I thought I was going to pass out, and probably did pass out and puked, and then wiped my mouth off, and then kept going, and it's one of those situations where I just want to keep getting better there, and I'm actually going out to Vegas next week for the PBR Bull Riding World Finals out in Vegas, and going back to Extreme Couture and working with my one of my ground coaches is Neil Melanson. Real good at he understood that whenever I came into the sport, I wasn't going to be playing off my back. I wasn't going to be going for triangles and crazy little jiu-jitsu submissions. Right away we worked on top positioning. We worked on sweeps. We worked on controlling a guy, being on top, crushing him with your shoulder, putting pressure on him, getting to a place where you can ground and pound, and with that ground and pound, that's where the submissions come. The submissions get set up just like we saw with the Alvarez fight. Throwing a couple elbows, getting full mount, making him turn away from the punch, and that's where the submission came. Same thing with like a Demarcine Held fight, throwing in the head and arm choke. That all came from ground and pound, and it came from, it's one of those things where, if life gives you lemonades, you got to make, or if it gives you lemons, you got to make lemonade. So I'm that kind of guy who comes forward. I can't be that patient because I'm just not, that's not ingrained in my DNA to be patient and kind of, go slow and methodical and that kind of stuff. So I have to really kind of play into my strengths, which is being the kind of guy who trains hard and kind of puts the pressure on people. And I want to put myself in positions where I can, do some damage and hopefully get some, submissions and that kind of stuff from the top. But, I really appreciate your compliments and that kind of stuff. It's great to hear that from, a guy like yourself. I've really followed your career a lot, and, I appreciate what you did for the sport,
Yeah, absolutely. You're the kind of nightmare candidate for somebody who is a striker. You're a guy that not only hits hard but puts it all together really well. And if you're on your back, you're losing. And I like the way that you said. When you started, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to be on my back. I'm not going to play around. You take me down, I'm going to stand back up because if I'm on my back, I'm losing. And that's, I think that's a great point. And I'm really familiar, obviously, with Rick Hahn. We trained together before he was ever even a professional MMA fighter. And then when he turned pro, I trained with him from 2009, which is when he turned pro, and then all the way till 2010 when he fought Shoney Carter. I helped him get ready for that fight because I had already fought and beaten Shoney, so I helped him with that. But I have not trained with him since then, so he's obviously a completely different guy. I actually haven't spoken to him in probably, that 2.5 years or whatever it's been. But, yeah, man, I wish you luck. Jay, I'm going to hand it over to you, buddy. I know you're sitting there just dying to ask a question.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was enjoying it, Marcus. You're making my job easy for me. I was going to sit back and just listen for the rest of it because, I can't top those questions. Good work, bro.
I'm enjoying it. So thank you, guys.
What's that, bud?
I said, well, I'm enjoying it, so I thank you guys.
Oh, no problem. No problem. No, one thing I want to elaborate on what Marcus said is that, there's a lot of people when you see the term former collegiate wrestler or former wrestler, there's a stigma within the MMA fan base that the guys don't finish it. The best ongoing joke I've ever heard, and it's used by mainly towards your former University of Missouri wrestling cohort and Ben Askren. That guy couldn't finish a peanut butter sandwich, but not all wrestlers seem to, and you seem to be changing the mantra of the way people look at wrestlers because you always seem to be looking for the finish. You always seem to be looking for the win. And if you had to talk to a fan, Michael, how would you say to take a look, that not all wrestlers are looking to take him down and punch him in the kidneys for 3 rounds?
What would I say to it? What do you mean? Well, I asked them that? Or I tell them that?
I mean, if you were to explain why, how you're different from the other wrestlers and why not all wrestlers are laying prey artists, so to speak.
You know what? I don't know. The best way I can describe it is I think I'm a little bit crazy, but a little bit. I don't know though. Like honestly, like people ask me like, or they'll say, you're so just intense and you're so this and so. And I think that's what it is. I think it's like I said, coming from that wrestling background, I come from Missouri wrestling where a wrestling match was 7 minutes, and our goal wasn't just to go out there and score enough points to win, or just go out there and barely squeak by. It was to get out there as soon as that whistle blows, get in your face, and don't let a guy breathe. If there's a wrestling match for 7 minutes, or there's a fight for 25 minutes, and you are the initiator, you're the guy in that guy's face, that guy's taking steps backwards, you're not giving him a chance to rest, you're not giving him a chance to regain his thought, collect himself. You want to put him in a bad situation. You want to take him out of his comfort zone, and that's kind of what I aim to do in every fight. Like that's like with the Eddie Alvarez fight. I said, I told everybody right away and made it be known to him and everybody that I was going to come out there and I was going to be in the driver's seat. And that was going to be the reason I was going to win that fight, was that Eddie went out there and people gave him too much respect. I respect him a ton, but they gave him too much respect, and they let him have his foot on the gas and let him be in the driver's seat. And I just got that mentality where I'm going out there and I don't want to be in that cage any longer than I have to. Going back to like what Marcus said, that Dono fight, that's a career move. That's gonna make me have another fight later in my career, by going out there and not being able to get hit. So I'm down to have a war. I'm down to eat punches and make it exciting. But I want to go out there and I want to get finishes, and I want to I get kind of restless. If I'm on top of somebody, I'm in his guard, I want to be moving my hands. I want to be punching. I want to be doing something. You go back, you look at Chael Sonnen versus Anderson Silva. He's getting all crunched up, but he's still like trying to box his ears and hit him in the ears. Like just any kind of even dumb little movement to kind of show that you're trying to work and you're trying to get towards the finish. That's kind of that mentality that I have, and like I said, for some reason I have it. I don't know if it's just like I was born to do this or whatnot, but it's I'm glad I have it, and I hope I can continue to go out there and finish guys and put on great shows for the fans and like I said, exceed people's expectations.
I know you've certainly grown a fan favorite simply because, again, you continue to with the Gono fight, the Alvarez fight, you redefine the way people look at wrestlers. And Marcus, you and I have had this discussion on here many times. As a fan alone, and I understand why you do it, why they do it. It's get in there, win win no matter what it takes, and take as little damage as possible. But honestly, as well as I do as a fan, you like seeing leave it all on the line. Get out there and pull no punches, no pun intended. Get out there and take them down, but go for submissions. And far too frequently we see take them down and punch them in the kidneys, or take them down and hold them down or snuggle them. And it's not that these guys aren't incapable of finishing, because I know Ben Askren gets a lot of grief for it, but, that guy's competed in jiu-jitsu tournaments. He's got finishing ability, And I also know that it's not so much, it's not so much all the lack of offense as it is, good defense, but it's refreshing to see my point that guys are going for broke out there that just are trying to finish fights each time they're in there.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be, I think, the difference between, like, someone like me when I used to go out there, and that's what I did. I'd bite down on the mouthpiece until I started to fall apart, was that, back in the earlier days, my face and everything was pretty terrible until it got meat tenderized over years. I think the difference between myself, me being from a striker background, I never had the luxury of deciding where the fight truly was going to take place. I just kind of went out there and said, okay, I'm going to try to punch you in the face as hard as I can and try to stop you before you stop me. But with a guy like Michael has the ability to choose where that fight. He's so good at wrestling, he can stop those wrestling takedowns, but he's also can take you down and beat the hell out of you on the ground, and then he's not like he's just going to get down there and, like you said, punch him in the kidneys and give him little noogies on the head. He's, geared for submission. So he's both, ground and pound and the submission guy. So makes a big difference when you get the confidence to go, you know what, go ahead and try to take me down, because it ain't going to happen.
No doubt, no doubt. Now, Michael, you've got some big things going on with you alongside with what's going on in your MMA career. Recently signed a sponsorship deal with a pretty big name company, correct?
Yes, I did actually. About a month ago, signed a deal with Monster Energy Drink. So that's yeah. So it's a big thing. Very, very excited about it. So it's gonna be cool to see all kinds of cross promotions and being able to go to all the motocrossers and all that kind of stuff, and obviously wear the big old green M on my shorts and that kind of stuff's gonna be cool too.
Now, you mentioned you're going to the professional bull riding tournament here. Any chance we're going to see you replicate what Felix Baumgartner did last week at representing Monster?
Wait, what was that?
The whole Felix Baumgartner, Marcus, what was it, when he jumped from the brinks of outer space, he skydove from, what is it, 100,000 feet
higher than anybody, yeah.
I don't have that in my schedule right now, but if anybody would like to train me, I will do it.
That's crazy.
All crazy things.
Jump from 100 to 150. What was it, Paul? What was anybody knows? Let me know. I know it was like literally from the brinks of outer space. A guy skydived from it. But now that being said, though, Michael, you said you got to deal with Monster, pretty well known. Normally, you see UFC guys getting this, but I think this is a fair case to say that now you're getting sponsored by them. It means Bellator is sort of reaching that same spotlight, so to speak.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, it's no secret how big of an influence Spike has had in the mixed martial arts community. So it's exciting. It's exciting for January to roll around and be that be on that card in January, and that the launch of Spike. So it's going to be really, really exciting. Hoping to Spike's in how many millions of homes. So it's pretty exciting, and I can't wait to be able to go out there and get that kind of exposure. And really, nothing against what Bellator has done so far, and it's all a process, and it's all, you got to grow, you got to start somewhere, and being on Fox Sports Net at first, and then MTV2, and now, going to Spike is just going to be so much bigger, and I'm going to be able to get so much more exposure just for myself, for sponsorships, for everything, and it's just everything is on a bigger scale, and it's exciting because as mixed martial arts, you want to see that. You want, obviously for myself, selfishly, I'm trying to make a living for myself. I want to have a family and kids and a wife someday and be able to provide for them and let them live comfortably. But, it's just exciting to see how the sport is continuing to grow bigger, and the things that the UFC is doing across countries or, across the world, and then what we're doing, and now our reach in Russia and Brazil and all that kind of stuff. It's really exciting for everybody in the mixed martial arts community,
Absolutely. I mean, think about this. In the last year, you've gotten sponsored by Monster. You've been in a video game. Not bad for a small-town kid from Missouri, huh?
Yeah, not bad. I didn't know. I wasn't expecting that. But I knew I had some great things on my horizon. I didn't know I was going to start fighting until pretty much by the time I graduated, and then now all this is happening, and I love it. And I know God put me in this sport for a reason. I wake up every single morning knowing I'm supposed to be in this sport. And, I'm just excited to kind of keep taking the journey and working my butt off and proving to people that I deserve to be, the number one lightweight in the world. And I want to continue to kind of, prove that.
Absolutely. Michael, last question we got for you, because I know you are cramped for time and you do have to run to practice. But mention sponsorship. You got a unique sponsorship of your own going on, your own little company T-shirts. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, actually, I launched a T-shirt company in January of this year. It's called Blessed Threads, and it's the website's blessedthreads.com. And it started off, if you see me fight, you've seen pictures of me with my shirt off. I got a tattoo on my chest that says Blessed in cursive, and for me, it's just a constant reminder of to live a lifestyle in which I'm really counting my blessings. I'm really waking up every single morning and counting it all a blessing when I can just walk over to my sink and brush my teeth in the morning on two capable legs and come out here and train and fight in front of a ton of people on TV, and just when you look at life like and you really are more appreciative, and you really kind of acknowledge how truly blessed you are to have what you have, and don't focus on what you don't have. You kind of look at life through a different lens, and that's kind of how I got the tattoo, and I started putting on T-shirts for myself, and people started liking them, and I started printing up a couple more and selling them and giving them away, and friends started wearing them, and then I decided, actually right after I won the belt, I went back to St. Louis and visited the Children's Hospital, and went to the 9th floor of the Children's Hospital, which is the Hemont Clinic, hematology oncology area where the kids there are kind of in bad shape, and I saw a couple kids and showed them the belt, showed them my fight, and signed some posters and put some smiles on some kids' faces. And I met a little kid named Robbie Chandler, and it was pretty coincidental because I haven't really met too many kids or people with my last name Chandler, and hung out with him for a little while, and then found out about I joined his Facebook group and all that kind of stuff, and found out about 2 weeks later that he had passed away. And he was a kid who he was 9 years old. He had been suffering from bone cancer for 7 years, and to have contact with a kid like that, and to have him come into my life for 2 weeks and then just be gone, and never really get a in some people's mind a fair chance at life and a fair chance to have a normal childhood. And really looking at my life, I really I wanted to give back. I wanted to have some kind of I wanted to give back with this clothing line I started and teamed up with an organization called Friends of Kids with Cancer, and now we give a portion of the proceeds of every single shirt to Friends of Kids with Cancer, and they're a great organization, and they're doing some great things for kids and their families who are affected by cancer and cancer during childhood, and they're doing some great things. So I'm just believing that Blessed Edge is gonna reach every area of the earth, and the possibilities are endless. Just really excited about the future. So if anybody wants to get a shirt, they're on blessedthreads.com, and hopefully we're going to be expanding the line and coming out with all kinds of new shirts and new colors and combinations and all that kind of stuff. So.
Well, that's definitely, I got to commend you for that. That's definitely a cool, and that's definitely a noble, shall I say, because cool, noble, childhood cancer, certainly not cool, but it's certainly a noble, and shall I say, above who each of us is, of gesture that you're doing for people that need it. I can only imagine what it's like to be a kid, when you're supposed to be enjoying the best days of your life, finding out that you're going to have a battle where you may not have many left, and and they may not have many years left when you should be enjoying them, and that's a high praise to you, high respect to you for doing that. And on behalf of Marcus and I, if there's anything we can do on this program to help you out with that, let us know. We'll be happy to help in your cause however you need.
Oh, absolutely, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's just one of those things where more than anything, keep spreading that message that, hey, every single morning is a blessing, that you wake up and that you guys can, hop on here on the radio and talk to people and, keep spreading those blessings. So that's just kind of a mindset that I kind of, keep going every single day and wake up with that same mindset,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I got a real quick question for you, Michael. You ever listen to Jim Rohn? Are you familiar with him?
I do. He's a motivational speaker, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because he says both Jim Rohn, and I listen to a lot of that stuff. Jim Rohn, Brian Tracy. There's obviously there's just a ton of them out there. I like DeMartini also, Paul Sheely. God, there's just John Assaraf, all those guys, but. You sound like you preach a lot like that. I don't mean preach, but you know what I mean. That's truly the way that people, when you look at life like that, it does make a huge difference in what direction that your life takes you in. And when you wake up and the first thing you're on your mind is that you're thankful for the things that you have and for what you're about to do, and thankful that you got health and that you don't have any of those other problems. It already sets the pace to have not just a great day, but have a great life. And just, I think a lot of people would wake up and they get depressed that they have to go to work. They don't, think, wow, I get to go to work. I'm lucky I have a job. I'm lucky that I even have this, but But I think that's really great, man. That's awesome. And anytime that, anybody can be involved and do something positive like that, that's huge, man. Whether you believe in karma, you believe in, the power of attraction or whatever, man. That's awesome, man. I really like now I like you even more. So that's great, man.
Thanks. No, yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, and it's one of those things, man. The my biggest words of wisdom and all that kind of stuff is life and death are in the power of the tongue and in the power of your thoughts. Every single day, the most important person that you're going to talk to every single day is yourself. The things you're telling yourself, the things you're thinking, are the things that are going to come to fruition. You focus on the good things, you focus on the blessings, you focus on what is good and what is not, and what is good of good repute and all that kind of stuff. You focus on the good and acknowledge the bad, but focus on changing it and not dwelling on it is so important, and that's kind of my message I want to spread. And like I said, fighting's not just about going out there and fighting and making money and all that kind of stuff. It's about going out there and achieving things and unconsciously giving other people the right to go out and achieve what they want to achieve because they see you doing great things. So that's I'm just excited to be the best flyweight in the world and reach a ton of people. So
absolutely, and I view it this way: it's not whether you win or lose your last fight; it's how you leave an impact in the sport, or how you when you go when our time's up, which we all face that grim reality. But when our time's up, it's not what we accomplished or what we failed at; it's what we leave behind and how we're remembered as to what our lasting impact is. And I tell you, doing this, with that outlook, I think when time is up, many moons from now, you definitely will leave a lasting one behind, so to speak.
Yeah, I hope so, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. Now, you real quick before we let you go, because I know you're busy. You a Cardinals fan by chance, being from Missouri?
Yeah, huge Cardinals fan. Cardinals and Rams.
Cardinals and Rams. Think they're going to finish it off tonight?
I hope so, man. They we're a tough team and we're always shine in the playoffs. So I'm excited to see.
This year would be the best of them. One of my favorite ones to watch, simply because they lost Pujols, yet they still kept going on and on. My favorite part, Pujols left saying, he wanted to be on a winning team. He wanted to go to an organization where he had a chance to make it to playoffs. And the Angels are sitting home, and the Cardinals are 9 innings away from going back to the World Series for the fourth time in 12 years. 4 times 12 years. That's pretty successful, I must say.
Yeah, man, it's exciting, and it's awesome to be from St. Louis. People do love the Cardinals. I hope they start loving on the Rams some more too, because what Jeff Fisher's doing there, and obviously all the additions to the team and our defense is killing it, and I'm excited to hopefully make St. Louis one of the biggest sports cities in the world again.
Oh, no question. A little rumor making the rounds as they may be picking up Dwayne Bowe from the Chiefs. So if that happens, that team will be pretty tough to beat in the NFC West.
Heck yeah, that would be awesome. So
big rumor, but hey, Michael, I know you got to get going. I do want to thank you for coming on, and hey, like I said, let's make this a regular happening, huh?
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys having me on, and anytime you got my number, holler at me, and like I said, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, best wishes, man, and good luck with both the career and your reaching out and helping people. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, Marcus, for like I said, everything you've done for the sport, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
All righty. You guys have a good one.
Hey, you too, Michael. Take it easy, and we'll talk to you again.
All righty. Bye-bye.
That was Bellator lightweight champion Michael Chandler. Took time out of his schedule to join us here on Full No Punches Radio. Marcus, what a good kid, huh? What a good dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Has his head on straight. You're talking to a really educated, I don't want to call him a kid. He's an adult. He's a man. So real educated man, and he's a guy that majored in personal finance and got a minor in real estate. I mean, he's a smart kid. He could be doing anything that he wants to do, and it's awesome. He's focusing on fighting, and not only that, he's also focusing on how he can, impact other people, because, when Michael Chandler's book ends and he passes on, he'll be remembered as being a great fighter for sure, but he'll also be remembered by other people for, how he impacted their lives with the positive stuff like he talks about while he was on here. So that's great.
Absolutely, and my opinion's this, and I think you can agree with me on this, and I think Colton Smith, who's waiting to get on with us too, as a Christian himself, will agree with this. It's not so much the great. I think the greatest fight in life isn't the ones you fight in a cage or the ones you fight outside the cage. It's the ones you fight to beat the norm. And I mean, we live in a world where, let's be perfectly honest, the norm is, the selfish, the egotistical, the greedy. Hey, I've got 5 Lamborghinis. Hey, I've got the new state-of-the-art clothes. I got the 56-inch big screen TV. I've got everything I could possibly want, but I don't give back. And, it's a selfish, egotistical, greedy world. And it is reassuring to see that sort of stuff. Colton, I know you just sent me a text saying you wanted to talk about something.
What's up, brother? No, I just sent you a text about 10, 15 minutes.
What's that, bud?
I can be on the line for about 10, 15 minutes. That's why I texted you.
No, that's no problem. As long as you got it, man. As long as you need.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I on what you were saying, I think all areas of your life need to be, at level if you are a fighter, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, and that's something that I struggle with as an amateur and coming up the ranks, because the thing is, like, being a soldier, I had a full-time job, also my wife and my kids, and, I wasn't getting to church enough, and that's a big part of my life now is my spirituality, being a Christian. I think that really helps, and making sure I get out there and help the kids out, like little kids coming up. There's little kids in jiu-jitsu nowadays, kind of like there was little kids in wrestling in Iowa back in the day. I think that's something that I've been doing a lot more of now is giving back to the young kids and the teenagers and stuff that want to be where Marcus Davis is when they get older and stuff like that. Like they want to be at that level. So I mean that's something that's to be said about certain people. Now people like Mayweather and people like that, the persona they give off is just so negative, and I just it's hard to watch that, how they brag about how much money they make and they flaunt it, left and right.
That bothers me too, because you've got so many people out there that they can't afford, one day they're living paycheck to paycheck and they're working hard trying to make a living. They can't do it. Meanwhile, you got guys like Mayweather who are, flaunting their money around like it grows on trees. Which I'm with you. It sort of disgusts me as well. What about you? I'm sure it disgusts you as well, Marcus. Yeah.
The what now? The what for me?
Just the whole, seeing guys like Mayweather flaunt their, these people that flaunt their money around like it's, grows on trees.
Yeah, unfortunately, the culture that we have of how, what kind of, it's everything, man. Not only just what kind of car you drive, how big of a house you are, what kind of jewels you have hanging off, what kind of phone you carry. It's all this whole status thing that, kids are watching and think is, what is important, and it's not truly, how people like to make the joke that, whoever has the most toys before we die wins. I mean, who wants to be remembered for the crap that they had? Priorities are truly in the hole right now.
They're definitely in the stinker, and it starts young. I mean, in fact, look at that. There's this new fad TV show. What is it? Honey Boo Boo or whatever the hell that stupid-ass show is called.
Right.
Honey. You see that kid's, 4 years old, 3 years old, and she's a spoiled, rotten.
Yeah, everybody
rotten
involved in that show is getting a one-way ticket to hell, man. There's nothing, there's nothing positive coming out of that.
The mom's a giant piece of white trash. I mean, this woman's had 4 kids with 4 different dads, and she's training her kid to be. They're all they're all headed for a bad place, and I think I'm bad for even talking about it. I'm headed probably down there with them for watching it, or for talking about the crap.
Unbelievable, man.
Colton, you ever watch that Honey Boo Boo Child show?
You know, I've heard about it. I've never watched it personally.
Yeah, I refuse to let my channel even hit it for a minute because I'm not going to help their ratings.
Yeah, I couldn't watch that show. You know, that's something I wouldn't watch. My kids aren't going to watch it. Hopefully, my wife wouldn't watch it.
you feel like your intelligence drops every 5 seconds you watch it. So
that's funny. He said, "I hope my wife wouldn't watch it." He sounds just like me, man, because I have no pull over whatever my wife wants to watch, whatever she, I like I say, I basically, I just, although that I'm the one that put the 50 G's down for the down payment of this house, and I'm the one that pays the mortgage on this house, this ain't my house. Who am I kidding? I don't make any decisions that happen here. And my wife watches that the Real Housewives of whatever.
Oh my God!
And she loves the bickering and the drama and all that stuff. And yeah, I'd rather go into the kitchen and take a spoon and dig my everything out of my oculars rather than watch that. It's just oh God. But
my wife watches the same show.
Oh
she
man,
watches the same crap, man.
I can't stand that. And my wife is like, my wife is intimidatingly smart. Like, she's really smart, and that's what blows me away. Like, she's not some bimbo broad that, she's really full of wit, real smart, and knows her crap, but it just surprises me that she likes to watch that stuff. It's awesome.
And again, you got to ask yourself, why do smart people watch? Because my wife watches that boo-boo crap, and, I walked out there. It's always fortunately when Taylor's in bed because I won't allow either of my children to watch that garbage. But I walked out there one time and I saw about 3 minutes of it. And what the hell is this crap? So I mean, what makes smart women watch stupid shows? I mean, maybe it makes them feel. Maybe it makes them realize. All I can say is maybe it makes them realize that there are stupid people out there, that they do exist.
Well, that would be like somebody seeing somebody watching like WWF or WE or whatever it is. Now, somebody watching that, somebody would go, well, it's not real, it's not this, it's crazy, why would you even waste your time? Or, like me, if I see somebody sitting there watching NASCAR, I just go, well, why don't you just come back when you know it's about to end rather than watching the hundreds and hundreds of laps? You're just going to keep driving around in a circle. And if you just watch the last 2 minutes of it, you'll know who wins. I just don't understand. So,
and if you want to see wrecks, because I know that's what a lot of people tell me, hey, it's about the wrecks. It's about the wrecks.
Oh.
Go stand on the overpass of your local interstate highway and stand there for about 3 hours. I'm sure you'll see your fair share of wrecks.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
But we move from shows that aren't worth watching and programming that isn't worth watching to ones that are, and that being the Ultimate Fighter, which our friend Colton is a part of the cast of. Now, Colton, last week's show, we saw the blow-up of Julian Lane of Clubber Lang. Him and the boiling point with he and Matt Secor finally seemed to reach its breaking point. Going on what was going on in the house at the time, what led up to them to, obviously we had seen in the weeks before what had led up to it, but what led to them finally nearly coming to blows on the show?
What wasn't really shown was Mike Ritchie was kind of poking at Julian a little bit. It showed it a little bit, but so was Bristol Miranda, or not Bristol. The guy standing, I forget who else was standing down there with him, but it was Mike Ritchie, Matt Secor, and they were both really picking and prodding on old Julian there. And I was out there for that. They wouldn't stop. They were pushing. More beers went down for Julian. I went to bed, and that's when I heard the outburst, and Matt Secor threw a fart in Julian's face. Julian thought about it for a second and was like, wait a second, this guy's disrespecting me, snaps. But that's very mild, I will say, of Julian. I'll leave it at that. but that's a mild outbreak of Julian. So, it goes to, for Julian, I've known Julian for a while. He grew up in Woodbridge, Virginia, in kind of a crappy area. He felt he was disrespected, and a lot of guys were kind of picking at him, trying to get him to snap, and he snapped. They got what they wanted. But Matt Secor looked pretty scared when I ran out of my room and tried to break it up. I don't want Julian losing his mind. I don't want Julian, losing his time in the house, getting kicked out of the house. It's not worth it. Ask Jesse Taylor. So I mean, it's just something that happened, and I think that Mike Ritchie, Matt Secor both knew what they were doing when they were pushing Julian.
That sort of makes me wonder. Matt's not so much Matt, but Mike Ritchie so far in the show, and now perception could be reality, it could not be, but Ritchie seems the type that, dare I say, doesn't take jokes very well. We've seen it later in the episode where Nick Herod-Webb threw his bet out there, and, it almost started another fight in the house. So, to me, I mean, Mike seems like the last kind that should be needling it. I mean, there's an old saying where I come from, don't dish it if you can't take it.
Yeah, and Mike Ritchie did a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Always complaining, stuff you'll never see probably, but always complaining. Where I come from, I don't do laundry. Where I come from, I don't clean a dish. Someone's going to come in and do this for me, and just a silver spoon up his ass, and that's the only way to put it. I mean, I come from a military background. I make my bed, I clean my clothes, I clean the dishes, whatever I dirty, I clean up. And you have a guy like that who can't take a joke. Absolutely not. All season can't take a joke. Someone says something to him, he either cries to the producers or whatever else. But that's the kind of guy he is. When you grow up with a silver spoon up your ass, that's how you're going to be. So, I mean, that's the only way to put it. He was coddled as a kid. And there's something to be said about real fighters. You could have, the way I look at it, you could have 30 fights and not be a real fighter, like someone who really, really is a fighter. And I think he's not a real fighter, I mean, just the way he is, the way he acts as a human being, what he says about us in the house, like what I've seen on the shows where he's talking about how his intellectual level is so far superior to anybody else in the house, and I can't have conversations with these kind of like swine, pretty much, stuff like that. You don't say that. You need to be a humble individual as an athlete, whether you're going to be a role model or unless you want to try to be like Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather is very accomplished, obviously, but we talked about his attitude and the way he acts, how pompous he is.
Yeah, no question. And it just leads me to be funny. I can only imagine, Colton, what happens if Matt comes into your world and says, comes into the military and says, hey, where I come from, we don't do dishes, we don't make beds. I can only imagine the payback he would get from, say, a drill sergeant or a petty officer. I don't think it'd be too pleasant. I don't think it'd be too nice.
Yeah, absolutely not. And Richie wouldn't last a day in my world, a day in Ranger School, a day in combat. And that's just the kind of guy he is. Maybe he's a talented guy, who knows, but we'll see.
He talked a lot. I do know this. He did talk a lot about how Webb was a punk and Nick was a punk and Nick was all things bad. And then when he knocked Nick's hat off and Nick said, I'm not going to get your bet, he really didn't seem to stand his ground too much. That's all I'm going to say about that without sounding too fighter bashing. But speaking of Nick, his fight with Igor, good 1-2 rounds. Looked like it should have gone to a third. What was your thoughts about the fight as a whole, Colton?
Nick Herod-Webb, I'm going to start off by saying this. He's 22 years old, youngest kid in the house, but he has the oldest child. He has a 4-year-old son, which is a big motivation for him. Nick Webb is amazing in the practice room. The dude, all-around good fighter, not bad at one thing, not great at one thing either, but good striker, good level changes, good head movement, good wrestling. As annoying as he is, he was a very, very good teammate for anybody that needed his assistance or wanted his assistance. He started out really flat. First round, he wasn't awake. We had a joke about him unleashing the beast. He wouldn't hit mitts before his fight because he didn't want to unleash the beast yet. It's something he does back in Alaska. Mm-hmm. He's never fought outside of Alaska. First time fighting outside of Alaska, being in the Ultimate Fighter house. And first round, he came out very flat against Igor, let Igor take him down. And Nick is a good wrestler, a lot better wrestler than what he showed. A lot better jiu-jitsu guy than what he showed. Second round comes out, gets a 10-9. They gave Igor a 10-8, which I disagree with because there was no damage done whatsoever. He controlled jiu-jitsu positionally-wise, had Nick's back, didn't do anything with it, barely threw any punches, didn't choke him, obviously, no cuts, no knockdowns. I think what constitutes a 10-8 is very vague in MMA today. You see 10-8s thrown out there, and you see them where they should be, and they're not thrown out there. So it is what it is. I will say Igor's round was more dominating than Nick's round that he won. So, I mean, it is what it is. You can't leave the hands of the judges. I'm sure Marcus knows that. Everyone knows that. And I think that, he just left it in the hands of the judges and didn't go out there and take it. It's your time out there. You got to figure out how bad you want it, and you got to prove it. So.
That is true, and that takes away what I was going to say afterwards is, even when Dana White says that should have gone to a third round, and I have no doubts Igor won the first round. No doubts in my mind at all. But when I think 10-8, Marcus Colton, I think Glover versus Teixeira versus Maldonado. I think Fitch versus Eric Silva round 3. Where you're just beating the hell out of him, and it's so convincing that there's no way that guy could have stole the round. Whereas 10-8 shouldn't be handed out that freely, and to me that wasn't a 10-8 round. That wasn't a 10-8 round by any means.
No, right. like Frankie Edgar, Gray Maynard, round 1, that's a 10-8 round. Where Gray Maynard took to Frankie Edgar, knocked him down 2 or 3 times, just pummeled him, and then Frankie came back obviously and beat Gray. But that's a 10-8 round.
Exactly. But like you said best, never leave it to the hands of the judges. But Colton, I know you do got to get running. I know you're actually at a meet and greet you got going on there?
Yeah, on post I'm meet and greeting. We have 82,000 people on Fort Hood, and I'm down here at Fort Hood and at the NCO club. It's called the Backbone Lounge, and I'm having a meet and greet with soldiers, their families, anybody that has a military ID can get in with their families, and just signing autographs and just being there for my soldiers and giving back to the Army for what they've allowed me to do, and that's chase my dream as a mixed martial artist.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool, brother. In that case, we'll go ahead and let you get going and take care of that. But before we do, the weekly drill. One word of what to expect this week's episode of The Ultimate Fighter.
Oh, elbows.
Oh,
nice.
And make sure you don't miss it. Trust me, do not miss the show tonight. You do not want to miss it.
So this is the one episode you don't want to miss, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying you don't want to miss, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Well, we'll be sure to DVR it and be sure to watch it, and we'll be on here to talk about it next week and perhaps some bigger things. But hey, Colton, as always, thanks for coming on, bro, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you very much, sir. Marcus, have a great night, and thank you for all you do for the sport, man.
Oh, thanks, buddy, again. Take care, bro.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless.
God bless.
That was our top 16 correspondent, Colton Smith, and I don't know. I said it. Does it seem like he might be fighting tonight? Just maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I'll put it to you this way, and anybody that wants spoiled, cover your ears. Don't say it. I'm not spoiling anything. I'm not spoiling anything out of inside knowledge. I'm just merely saying that Colton and Eddie Atlas have both gone stir crazy on their Twitter pages saying, be sure to watch tonight. It's a bloody war. So leads me to believe Colton's fighting Eddie Atlas tonight. That's just insight, though. Take it for what it's worth. But
yeah, I think that's a pretty good guess. That is a good hypothesis.
That's a good hypothesis. Not bad for having a 103-degree temperature. I can usually come up. I'm pretty hypothetical when I have a temperature. I don't know. Too bad I don't think that well when I'm not sick. But yeah. But speaking of tough, though, I guess we should move on topic-wise, though. Talk a little bit about, because I know we were talking a little bit before our interview started. We were talking about UFC 153, but the big news of the week, perhaps not so much that, is this, Marcus, that Top 17 is going to be, it's been announced, John Jones will be coaching against Chael Sonnen, a scenario we speculated on here on this very program back after UFC 151's failure, so to speak, failure to happen. Surprised? What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this matchup, and what are your thoughts on Sonnen getting a title shot at 205?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think, once again, I'm not in charge, but my opinion is, I think that's a raw deal to a couple of men that are in the waitings for, their shot, their turn, And here he is. He gets to just jump right in and gets his shot. And everything gets held on the back burners while they're filming the show. It's just not right.
No, I agree, and I'll tell you right off the bat, the one who's getting the biggest of raw deals is Dan Henderson. I mean, and he even said it best. He's like, no disrespect to jail, but I'm going to stop winning fights, and I'm just going to start running my mouth. I mean, I just think,
right.
And you won't. Anybody listening to this will know you will not find a show that supports Chael Sonnen that's bigger Chael Sonnen fans than Pull No Punches Radio. We're fans of fans of Sonnen. We've openly stated as such, but calling a spade here, to me, the fact that Sonnen, who hasn't fought at 205 since 2006, is getting a title shot, it just doesn't sit well with me. Now, I know why the UFC is doing it. You know this too, Marcus. The ratings for Tough are in the toilet, and they need to do something desperate to get ratings back. And Sonnen is going to bring ratings. And on a business standpoint, I guess I can understand that. I can relate to that. As somebody who looks for ratings, I know what it's about. I know it's about putting the asses in the seats. But there also has to be a point in time where you have to use logic too. I mean, where's the line drawn? Sonnen gets a title shot because he flipped it to Gums, and Jones happened to turn down a fight with him at 151. So there's a good backstory. I mean, but does that mean that he jumps past Henderson and Gustafsson and I'm not even going to throw Machida in the mix because Machida was offered to fight and turned it down. But you can name a dozen of guys on that list that deserve shots against Jones. And, before Sonnen, hell, Phil Davis, I'd even say Rashad gets a rematch. But I'm not nuts about it. I'm not nuts about it just because of the fact that they use ratings for their TV show ahead of, shall I say, common logic.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that are out there waiting for that shot, and you've got I didn't even say his name, Teixeira there or whatever. They just
give Glover a shot.
Big win over.
Give him a shot.
Yeah, or Alexander Gustafsson. You know what I mean? You got people that have already done some stuff in that division, and that aren't they fighting for that title too? Isn't that why the whole idea, of being in there is to be the best and to keep winning these fights? I don't know. As you said, you said it. We are fans of Sonnen, but it just doesn't make sense to have this guy who's gotten more title shots than anybody else. I mean, how many times has he fought, whether it was in the WEC, he got shots at the title. When he's now in the UFC, he's getting more shots at titles. I don't know, man.
Yeah, this will be his fifth title shot, and he's 1-4 in them. And actually, by technicality, the Filo fight got overturned because Filo pissed hot. So, I said, 5 title shots, or no, he's 1-3. Well, he'd be because this will be his fifth, so he's 1-3. By technicality. I don't know. That's like I said. This is where I applaud the UFC for a lot of what they do, and I'm not going to try to pretend what it's like to be in their shoes. And again, I do understand the business standpoint. The reality show can't continue to get as good as the product is, cannot continue to keep going on with the ratings they've been getting the last 2 seasons. This one set a series low under, I believe it was a 0.7 rating they got this week for Tough. And, I mean, they can't continue to thrive with those numbers. I get that. But, again, if you want to do a fight that gets ratings, there's others out there you can do. Hell, do Bonner Griffin 3. Have Bonner Griffin coach. That fight, it makes sense. It doesn't hold up to the title. It doesn't give somebody who really doesn't deserve the shot a shot. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me to throw caution into the wind and give an undeserving person a title shot. And what happens if Chael wins? That's very realistic, Marcus. I mean, he can, Jones is not indestructible. I mean, if Sonnen could drop, if Sonnen can drop Silva, he can drop Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. And us knowing, Jones is coming off almost having his arm broken and having some nerve damage and whatnot in his arm. how do we know that couldn't impede? I don't know. There's all kinds of things that could happen. And, once again, I think that, once again, I'm a fan of Sonnen, but I think there are a lot of guys that can beat him at 205.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Clee, if you look at the jiu-jitsu practitioners in that division, I think Little Nog beats him. I think
Right.
Gustafsson beats him. I think I think Teixeira beats him. I mean, there's a list of names. There's a list of names, and if you're going to give him a shot, I mean, I can understand if you're going to rush the process, you want to give him a shot. At least, why not stick to what the original plan was? Let him fight Forrest Griffin on the 155 card, and if he wins that, then give him the shot at Jones. I mean, I can see where you want to make ratings happen, but again, ratings aren't worth throwing your division in a tailspin.
Yeah, once again, that, there's not only a bunch of guys that are ahead of him that could have fought, Jones, but there's plenty of guys that would make sense or make more sense for him to fight than him getting a shot on Jones too, that are in the, in the back of the room, in the back of the bus.
No doubt about it. But anybody that does disagree with us, feel free to give us a call, 347-996-3485. That's 347-996-3485. You're tuned into Pull No Punches Radio with Jay Pagliaro and the Irish Hand Grenade, Marcus Davis. And Paul, what do you think? What do you think of this Sonnen Jones fiasco?
From a sporting standpoint, I think it sucks because, like Marcus said, there's so many more deserving people that deserve the title shot over Sonnen. But at the same time, it's a business. The business is to make money. Sonnen equals money. So, you got to do what you got to do to make a buck, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently. It's something. Something. And, again, 0.7 ratings can't continue to stick around, but that's neither here nor there. Now, moving back to UFC 153, Marcus, another fight, speaking of that, somebody that may have put his name back on the map, that being John Fitch. Now, real quick before we go into discussion of what Fitch did at 153, a quick recap and a rundown. With the victory, John Fitch now joins Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, and John Jones as the fighters that have the highest win percentage in the UFC, that have over 10 or more fights. Fitch now 14-2. He not only beats Eric Silva, but he puts forth truly what could be called a fight in a night performance. Now, for Fitch, the Fitch we've grown used to seeing, Marcus, is the one we mentioned earlier when we were interviewing Michael Chandler, to take him down, tap him on the kidneys, play safe for 3 rounds. But Fitch seemed to show, shall I say, a newfound aggressiveness at 153. Do you think this is a sign of things to come? Do you think Fitch realized that his window of opportunity is growing shorter, and he realized that it's not just wins, but it's exciting fights that get you into the spotlight? What do you think led to the new and improved Fitch?
Yeah, I think that obviously had to have played a part in it, and we just got to hope that it continues. That, he keeps this fire underneath him and knows that, it's not even that, hey, don't just go out there and try to win fights or whatever. It's that, Fitch is capable of finishing all these guys if he goes out and he tries to. If he goes out and he goes out there and really, really fights, rather than playing it safe and just saying, okay, I won that round, I got that in the bag, I just got to keep the next one in the bag, and I got to make sure I don't get caught with anything. I better not do this. I better not, He'll definitely start to grow in not only fan favor, but UFC, favor of the people that are making these decisions. Joe Silva, Dana White, the Fertittas. If he can start putting exciting fights on, why wouldn't they want to put him in those bigger money, bigger type fights?
I think the light switch went off for him. I think after winning 13 fights prior to that, the guy's shown it in his UFC career. He submitted Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts, and high-level ones at that. His grappling is legitimate. There's a number of fights for him, not just at 170, but I think at 185 that he could take. to where he could be a contender at either weight class. The problem is, Dana White doesn't like the safe approach, and he doesn't like people that don't go out there and go balls out. And I tell you, last Saturday night in Brazil, Fitch went balls out. He left it all on the table, and not only earned the fight at a night bonus, but I think he may have got himself in good graces and put himself right back in the picture at the 170-pound weight class. That being said, Marcus, that sound means we are due for a break. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Pull No Punches here on the Pull No Punches Radio Network. I'm Jay Pagliaro, alongside the Irish hand grenade, Marcus Davis. And Marcus, what some other topics we got on the docket for tonight?
Let me see. We've already spoken about the Jones-Sonnen. Let's talk a little bit about the fight that Texeira there had, his big win, and what's he going to have coming up next?
I'll tell you what, that guy, and for those that only follow the UFC, this Teixeira is, he's a guy who really has been one of the top unsigned talents for quite some time now. I mean, he's had some big wins even outside the UFC. In the UFC, he's not only beating people, Marcus, he's just absolutely annihilating them. He ran through Kingsbury. His fight Saturday against Maldonado was probably as close to a 10-7 round as I've ever seen. And I don't hand out 10-7 rounds very loosely, but that first was as close to one as we'll see. To me, that guy is he's should I say the next? I'd say he's the next big thing at the 205-pound weight class, but not exactly a young kid at 32 years old. That being said, I think he's ready right now to challenge some of the big names in the division.
Yeah, when you look at I believe the punch stats for that fight, or strike stats, I should say, he had 117 to 14. I mean, you can't even compare that, 117 to 14. I agree. It's time to pull the trigger. Let's see what this guy's made of. I think that the name that I said earlier makes a little sense, that Alexander Gustafsson. I think that could be a great fight to have those two guys meet, have them beat the hell out of each other, and then that just obviously, screams number one contender for 205.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect because you got two fresh names in the division that are itching to get a title shot. Have that be winner take all. Winner gets the next shot at Jones/Sonnen. I mean, that's a good one. If not that, maybe put him in there with which that's what I'd book. I'd book that right now. If that doesn't happen, though, put him in there with a Machida or an Evans or somebody that's gonna, somebody that has that chops, that has the pedigree, that's got the name value, that's gonna boost him into title shot recognition. I mean, right now it's hard pressed to say that the guy's not there now. I mean, nobody. Number one, he's blowing through competition. Number two, nobody wants to fight the guy. Nobody. Although Rampage has come out on record and said he wants to fight him. I will say that Rampage now is claiming he wants to fight him. I'll believe it when I see it, though.
Yeah, I agree. That's not a. I don't think that's a great fight for Rampage either.
No, it's not unless, considering he got manhandled by Bader, I don't necessarily know if he wants anything to do with Glover, and he's just trying to fulfill his obligations to get out of the UFC.
Yeah, he's done, you know what I mean? When you've already mentally checked out, that's it, man. I don't think that's when you start, trying to pick fights with killers like these guys, you know what I mean? You just, this is where you just kind of say, you know what, I'm done, I want to get out, so, bring a guy in that needs a cane or something to walk, let me beat him up and let me go on my way and leave with a win.
Well, I figure put him in there with a Forrest Griffin, they both seem to be, I'd say, pretty close to the end of their, at the end of the line for both, and it's a matchup that makes some sense. Instead, I guess they're putting Griffin in there with Phil Davis at 155, but to me, it should have been Rampage because that has a semblance of being a competitive fight. I I don't think that either Glover versus Rampage or really Davis versus Griffin's going to be too competitive at this stage.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, of the Phil Davis and Forrest fight. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, well, I'll let you elaborate before I get my thoughts. What about it? You think they're just throwing Forrest to the wolves, so to speak?
I mean, I don't know. I think that, maybe somebody, you're sitting down and you have all these names and stuff, and what you do is you put one line of names on the left, you put one line of names on the right, and you do that whole, like, pin the tail on the donkey thing. You just go, okay, I'm going to point at one name on the left, and, okay, Phil Davis. Now I'm going to close my eyes and just point on some name on the right, Forrest Griffin. Okay, they're going to fight each other. Because otherwise, I have no idea why. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I guess unless they could consider they have high hopes for Davis. I mean, they have for a while. The kid is he's got he obviously has a good pedigree and a good background. But like you said, it's almost throwing crap at a wall and seeing what sticks. It's that's the way this one seems operating.
Right.
What's going to stick first? What's going to stick on the wall the most? And I mean, if they're doing this to get Griffin out, I don't know. I don't understand the logic behind it. I mean, Dana said in the past he thinks it's time for Griffin to retire. Is he sending him in there with somebody that's going to beat him so he can say, look, Forrest, it's time to quit? I mean, you would think that they do it more cordially than that for a guy who's done so much for the company.
Yeah, like I said, I think that, they have a hard time trying to match some of these guys up with what might be fights that make sense, and they want to keep them, busy, especially if they're asking, if both of them are calling, Joe Silva and they won't stop calling him, we don't know what's happening on that line, and if Joe Silva's gotten, 5-6 calls from those two guys in the last, week, maybe that's why he goes, you know what, fine, you guys want to fight so bad, you can fight each other.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's very possible.
I don't know, man. Because it doesn't, nothing, I can't make any sense of it at all, because it's not like you have these two guys fight each other and, they're both like in the same, in the same pursuit. You've got somebody who's already said, yeah, I'm pretty much done. And, he's a fan favorite and whatnot. Then you got another guy that, was coming off a loss to Rashad. Isn't that it's Phil's last fight, right?
Yeah, he had that, and then he fought Prado at, I want to say was it 143? He fought Prado at, he fought not 143.
And he won that, right?
Yeah, he won that by pretty convincing, right? Yeah.
He won. Yeah. So now he's, I don't know. Like I said, I can't figure it out. They know. Apparently, they know what they're doing, and I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, but from blind eye, I mean, like you said, you got guys with two different agendas. One that's on the way up, and the other that's on the way out. But like I said, if I were the $1 million matchmaker, I don't know if I'd still be here because I enjoy doing this, so I don't want to say that, but I'd be sitting on a beach somewhere in Hawaii doing this show and not sitting in my apartment in Scranton, but that's here nor there, I guess. But speaking of people who did call it quits, apparently, Marcus, Matt Hughes has decided to call it a career as well. And I know Hughes, dare I say, a compelling individual. You're talking a guy who, prior to GSP, was widely considered one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, was easily considered the most dominant welterweight of all time. But outside of the octagon, you won't meet a bigger, shall I say, a more compelling individual, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, he did do, he had great, obviously, moments in the UFC, and He was looked at one point. He defended that welterweight title more times than anybody ever had, and good luck to him and whatever it is that he ends up doing. I think that you know a little bit about how I feel about the whole situation. That's where I'll leave that respectfully.
Yeah, and if anybody that wants to get an in-depth look at Hughes, just read his book. If you don't walk away with a different outlook on what kind of human being Matt Hughes is, then I don't know what to tell you. Your views of reality are pretty skimmed, and there's just been so many stories about the guy being an absolute ass in the gym, and just being just a real dirtbag human being. I've never met the man myself, but I know a few that have, present company included, that would probably be able to back my claim up.
Yeah, I can't really talk of any real positive, anything positive that I've as far as interacting with him. I just honestly I don't have anything to say. And like I said, rather than I don't want to turn this into something where I'm beating him up verbally or insulting him or whatever. So he's retired. He's moving on. He's going to do what Matt Hughes does, and whatever that is, he's going to go and he's going to do. And good luck to him.
Yeah, good luck to him indeed. Good luck to him indeed. I guess if you're a fan of him, definitely share your memories with him. And I'll leave it at that. Marcus, what other topics are there on the docket for tonight, bro?
Oh, well, let me look over our docket sheet. Let me see here. Excuse my, of course, at this time is when my eyesight starts to go and we start to get over to here. We've got, let me see, man. Wow, it looks like almost we have burned through most of the things that you and I were discussing about talking about. We talked about, we've gone over Anderson Silva's fight with Bonner. We talked about Fitch's fight and his dominating performance. We have, we just talked about Texera and Jones Sonnen. Yeah, man. I think that as far as the MMA topics, we've pretty much hit everything. As we were originally supposed to have guests. We were talking about having Data 5000 and Dan Severin, who we weren't able to have on tonight. Somebody send out an ABP on those guys and find out what happened to them.
Send out the SOS.
But what something that we can kind of turn back to real quick, obviously, because we neither one of us ever truly get bored of talking about this, and that's this election that's going on right now, and these debates. I'm really surprised that Romney hasn't brought up more of the failures of what he did with that stimulus package, the amount of money that went out, especially to like those green jobs and whatnot, that ended up being, just an absolute, might as well have thrown billions and billions of dollars into a fireplace and lit it on fire.
Yeah. Well, first off, the Dream Act's a joke. You want my humble opinion? There's again, I look within how many how many people wish they could go to school and they can't because they can't afford it? You're going to give an illegal immigrant a free college education. I mean, why don't we just turn this into the United States of everybody else's land? Because nowadays you come over to the United States, you're an illegal immigrant. You come over to the United States, you get a free house, you get free medical care, you get free food. Now you get a free college education too. I mean, what part of illegal? Where's the perks of being illegal? Where's the stigma of being an illegal immigrant? And that's what Obama's pushing is, the more people that are thriving on the system. And the stimulus package, all these jobs that were supposed to be created, I'd like to know where. Did they open a few more Walmarts, Marcus? Did they open up a few more McDonald's? I mean, where did jobs go?
It's already been proven that 90% of them were dumped into very temporary positions, and the largest percentage of them obviously had nothing to do with anything but government jobs. Like, when tax season came around, they dumped it all into the IRS, and you had a bunch of retards that had no business of being involved in the IRS getting jobs and just kind of like harassing people like they were telemarketers, not real true IRS agents, and, pissing people off. And, we had the audit that year, the first year that he was able to stand in there and have audits as a president, was in the first, couple months, had already gone 100% more audits already than any of the years previous. So, just unbelievable. And then with the whole, all the money that he passed out to all those, the green energy loans that Obama put out there, they went to, 80% of them went to people that were donors of him, that put money into him. And out of those companies that he gave them to, 19 of them went bankrupt. 19, dude. I mean, that's crazy. We all know Solyndra. They got over $500. They got over $500 million. Done. They're done. They got. You've got SunPower got $1.5 billion. First Solar, obviously, they went crap. $1.5 billion. And they even handed out, which makes no sense at all, to that Babcock and Brown. They're an actual Australian company. They're not even an American company, and they handed them $178 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's all kinds
more
of
jobs overseas.
Right? Yeah. And that's my point. Is what that's kind of stuff that I would have wanted to talk about and wanted to hear, them, Romney bring up and throw back in his face, okay, let's, how can you throw away that much money and those kind of, I guess you call them investments on our future, and all of that money, it's gone. It's gone. If you had taken a quarter of that money and dumped it into the private sector to people who have shown that they're educated on and able to open up small business, that would have been huge. You know what I mean? If people who have the intelligence to open up and run these small businesses, people that are coming out of, if they said, one of the criteria for you to be able to get this loan from the government is to, first you got to show that you're a college educated person or whatnot, but you got to submit a business plan, and you don't have a government worker look over that business plan. You have somebody who's actually a legitimate, person in the banking industry. You once again, you outsource that work to the private sector and have them go over it. They go over the paperwork. They then, submit the paperwork to the federal government saying, hey, we looked at this. This makes sense. It's approved. Send them the money. You know what I mean? And that could have done wonders for this country. And that's something that I think that you would see, if put in a situation like like that. I'm not saying that Romney would do something exactly like that, but he would do something that wouldn't mean that, billions of dollars would be invested into things that were obviously going to go up in smoke. You know what I mean? Especially when you're looking at the fact that why do that when we now know that the United States has more oil underneath the United States than any other country in the world. The United States has more oil and more natural resources available here for energy than the entire Middle East, man.
Yeah.
And we just can't, it's just not able to tap it.
Well, I mean, you know as well as I do, Marcus, there's probably more oil in Texas than in the Middle East. You don't even need to get started about Alaska and, parts of Washington and Oregon. I mean, there's more oil in Texas. I mean, Texas is a hotbed for oil, that we continue to tap into that where, and how about the Keystone Pipeline jobs that were shot down? How many jobs would have been created with that Keystone Pipeline that would have tapped into, and instead, though, Obama wants to give money to, his buddies to start businesses. That should be another criteria, Marcus. It's a track record of proven success, not a couple of Obama's buddies who donated money to his campaign, so I'm gonna kick back the favor and give you money to start your own company for it to go bankrupt in 8 months. That's not frugal spending. That's wasteful spending. That's gonna, that's going to continue to send our country into financial hell. And I mean, I never imagined, and the stimulus. I think that was one of the biggest reasons why which is what caused our credit rating to take a dump. I mean, this is a guy who, Marcus, in almost 4 years has spent more federal funds than every president from Washington to Bush combined. And where's the end payoff? Where's the end result? And he keeps saying time and time again, George W. Bush this, George W. Bush that. All right,
I know, man.
It's old, It's like you weren't exactly left the greatest of. You weren't exactly left in the greatest of circumstances and situations. But what have you done to fix it? Absolutely nothing. And then, instead of talking about George W. Bush and Big Bird, maybe you need to talk about what you're going to do differently in the next 4 years that you didn't do in the first 4. Because I don't care about Big Bird. I don't care about George W. Bush. I care about what's going to happen if you happen to get reelected. Is it going to be the same nonsense for 4 more years to where we're put in such a bad circumstance that there's no getting out of it?
Yeah, this whole, as we, the whole thing, him blaming Bush, it's Bush's fault, it's Bush's fault. We heard about that and what kind of economy, he inherited. What I like to throw at him is this. The economy that he inherited by economists, the way they look at it, isn't even as worse as the economy that Ronald Reagan inherited.
Yeah.
And Ronald Reagan turned our country around. It didn't take him 2 terms. He did it in 2 years. In 2 years, our economy bounced right back. He did it in 2 years, man. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And anybody that wants to look back can look at back what the numbers were when Jimmy Carter left office. Look at those numbers. Look at what Ronald Reagan inherited. Then look at the numbers, the way the economy and the unemployment and everything looked 2 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
And he didn't the whole time. For 2 years, you didn't hear Ronald Reagan going, but it's not my fault. I didn't, it's Jimmy Carter's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You didn't hear Ronald Reagan blame. You didn't hear Ronald Reagan blaming Jimmy Carter. You didn't hear him blaming. You didn't hear him blaming You didn't hear him blaming the Democratic controlled House. You didn't hear him making excuses. You sure as hell didn't hear him blame the color of his skin for not getting results done. The way I look at it is this, Marcus: great leaders make things happen. great pretenders make excuses, and that's all Obama's done is make excuse after excuse after excuse while continuing to push his agenda and, continuing to throw disregard to the American public. Like you said, Ronald Reagan, it took him 2 years to improve an economy far worse than the one we're at now. Straight up. It took him 2 years, and that's, like you said, proven facts. Look at the history books, look at the record books. The thing is, Obama is all about, he's a used car salesman that's trying to sell you a lemon. When it doesn't work, he'll make 101 excuses. It ain't Bush's fault. Bush has been gone for 4 years now. You've done nothing to make it better. You've only made it worse. And, quite frankly, you get sick of hearing the excuses. You just get sick of hearing the excuses. And like you and I have talked about it, Marcus, I'm by no means a Mitt Romney. I was underwhelmed by Mitt Romney all along the way. But at this point, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because you look at his track record. He has had a track record of success as a governor of Massachusetts. I can speak today, I promise. As governor of Massachusetts, he made results happen. He made things happen. And quite frankly, has he spent his own money? Questionably, sure. But you know what? I don't care how he spent his own money. I care how Obama's spending ours. And you listen to all three debates, and I dare any of you that doesn't have Obama's balls in your mouth to look me straight and say, you know what? Joe Biden and Barack Obama came across with clear-cut answers. They didn't. They didn't come across with clear-cut answers. Meanwhile, Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan, they laid out their game plans. They laid out their plan of attack. They gave me a vision of what the United States of America under them is going to look like, which is something Obama and Biden haven't. So all Obama and Biden have done is made excuses and be combative and be disruptive. So that's you tell me who really won that debate, and take your bias out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's you got to look at this like also not only on the fact that you have a guy that has obviously used class warfare, has obviously pitted the whole Democrat versus Republican, and has blamed everybody else but himself and his, the people that work for him, and has turned his back on the people, or especially the ambassadors that he's appointed. I mean, or do you want to have a guy that, regardless of how you feel about him being a Mormon, of course you can bitch about him being a Mormon, but you can't. But if you say anything about, the fact that Obama went to a church with a racist that was running it, then now you're a racist because you're bringing that up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If you can't look at it and say, you know what? Okay, let me look at it without eyes of color, without eyes of anything. Let's just look at this. You have a country that right now, we need to run this country like a business because that's where we're hurting. We don't have any money. We're in debt. The debt ceiling is going to have to be risen again as far as the way that, obviously Obama's spending the money. We need to look at somebody who's been successful at running companies and businesses, making these kind of decisions that can, actually use a calculator. And we need to look at somebody that does not have a track record of, pitting people against each other. We're talking about a guy that was in the most liberal Democratic state there is, Massachusetts, man, and he worked with them and got things through, things passed, and turned things around in a state that right now would die to have him back because you've got, a governor who's allowing people to use EBT cards for porn, cigarettes, and booze.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. He overrode when they said, no, you're not going to be able to use he came in and said, no, you know what? I need to, we can't dictate what they use these for. It's unbelievable what's happening right now with these people in these states. This is the guy, this is who we have. We don't have Ronald Reagan right now. Ronald Reagan is gone. This is who we have. And I know that there are so many people that are screaming, I'm not going to vote for him, because I have a student that I argue with every day about this. He goes, I'm not going to vote for him because I'm going to use my vote the way I want to use my vote, and I'm still for help me out, the Libertarian.
Gary Brown. No, what is it? Gary Johnson?
No. That isn't even running anymore. That was running for Republican office. I've completely drawn a blank.
I know who you're talking about too.
Has the son that's a governor. Come on, man. You gotta help
Ron
me.
Paul. Ron
Paul. Thank you. He's like, that's who I wanted, and because Ron Paul and his people don't endorse Romney, I'm not going to endorse Romney. I'm like, dude, you have a choice right now. You can make an impact. You either are going to help Darth Vader get back in office, or you're going to help, or you're going to help put somebody in who just might be a little stuck up. Which one are you going to? Come on, man. And that's what people got to do. You just got to understand that you're not really choosing between two evils, which people like to say. There's only one evil, in my opinion, in this. Romney will, if he's put in that position, he's going to be one of those guys that no matter what, he will try to operate within the Constitution, rather than being somebody who wants to keep putting his foot on the line and draw a line in front and over the Constitution and say, I'm going to try to step onto this line.
Yeah.
No question. Here's the guy that says, everybody liked to play that whole George Bush thing over and over and over again. No new taxes. Read my lips. No new taxes. Obama's saying no, the tax thing, the greatest, highest tax hikes that have ever happened in the history of the nation are happening with Obamacare. Yeah. They're going from a 15% to a 45% tax on your on, help me out here, on the investment monies, where it's never 15% has been what it's always, you know what I mean? And now he's going from 15 to 45%. Let me ask you this. If you're a multi-millionaire or a billionaire, are you going to invest money if you're going to lose almost half of it now? You would invest it because you're like, hey, I'm going to invest this because you can't, there's no better way to get a bigger return when you're only paying a 15% tax. Of course I'm going to put my money out there. I'm going to let people use it. I'm going to let people build businesses. I'm going to invest in this company. I'm going to do this. But now that you're being told that whatever investment you put in, no matter what, whether that company does well or not, you're going to lose half of it. Yeah. You think that's going to help grow the economy?
Not a chance.
And you've got all these people that are running around still screaming he's the Messiah. You have, even people over here, they don't even understand. Do you know that Obama is like, they actually look at him as like almost the Messiah in Canada. He is so widely loved in Canada. It blows my mind. I live in Maine, and this place is crawling with Canadians all the time, and they all think he is they want him. And I'm like, you can have him, man. It's unbelievable how people are just, as they say, that drinking the Kool-Aid, which is very racist. I was told to say that when you're talking about a black president, but whatever.
Well, there are some people, though. I get what you're saying. The point being, there's some people out there. Obama could walk into their house, bang their dog, rob them blind, and they would still justify his actions. I mean, slap their grandma. They could do every inconceivable nasty move to him known to mankind, and people would still defend him. I don't understand why the such blind loyalty to the guy when. Wait, let me just throw one fact out there, Marcus. When gas reached over $3.50 one time during the George Bush administration, and people were calling for Bush to be impeached because of it. Impeached. Can you tell me the last time gas was under $3.50 a gallon under Obama?
Well, when he took office, it was $1.85.
Okay, it was $1.85 when he took office, but the general average of the Obama administration.
When he took office, when George Bush was still president, it was $1.85. From the second he took office, it has done nothing but climb, and it has not dropped below $3 a gallon for, 3 years?
Yeah. I can't remember the last time gas was under $2. I can't remember the last time gas was under $3. I honestly can't put my hands around it. And I think gas, like I said, gas reached over $3 once under Bush, and people were calling for his head. They were calling for him to be impeached.
Dude, it was here in Maine where gas usually isn't high. I remember that there was a week that I was looking at it, and it was $3.99 a gallon.
Yeah, here too.
So that's more than double what it was the whole time Bush was in office.
Yeah. You can relate to this.
No, I shouldn't say double the whole time he was in office, but double when he left office. I mean, it was below $2 a gallon when he left office, and here we are. It got almost to $4 a gallon, and it dropped by 15 cents over a couple of months, and then everybody was screaming how great that was. You got to be shitting me.
Yeah, $3 a gallon. I'll tell you just a real quick story to put a wrap on this. $20 under George Bush used to get me. I used to be able to put with $20. I used to be able to put, if not 3/4, at least half a tank of gas in my car at minimum. Under Barack Obama's prices, $20 barely gets me 70 miles. Food for thought, but
yeah, I've got a 1990. Okay, it's all done up. I'm sure you've seen it on my Facebook, but I got a 1990 Jeep YJ, and it's got 35s on it, 35 tires, and 35-inch tires, and it obviously only gets between 9 to 11 miles a gallon, and it costs me $70 on regular gas. It costs me over $70 to fill that thing. And I can't even drive it for a week back and forth from my house to my gym, where it's 6.8 miles away. For a week, $70 a week if I'm driving that. So obviously, and even my caddy, I'm only getting 21 miles to the gallon if I'm lucky. And, my FJ I have up for now my FJ comes out next month and everything else gets put up because, we're about to get shellacked with snow. But it's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, unbelievable. But, hey, I suppose that's Bush's fault, right? No, and one more comment, too, I want to throw in here about Romney. I want people to understand this because they don't seem to get the grasp of this. When you say he took over a democratically run state, this wasn't an 8-year plan. This wasn't a state that had been primary Republican and then Democrats had taken over. The state of Massachusetts has been heavy Democrat influence since the 1920s, Marcus, when the Kennedy Empire took over. When we say the Kennedy Empire, I'm not talking JFK. I'm talking Joe Kennedy. Joe Kennedy ran that state. Joe Kennedy ran that state well before Jack ever took office. The Kennedy clan had a stranglehold over that state for years, well before JFK. Believe me, that's how long they ran it. And Romney came in and worked bipartisanship. So people need to put their Obama bias away. I'm starting to be sold more and more. But hey, bro, good discussion tonight. I think I'm going to wrap her up so we can get to your kids. I can go cough my lungs out. But I want to thank you for the good conversation and the good show again tonight. And any final comments from you?
No, man, it was a good show, and next week tune in, everybody that's out there. We're going to have a special guest on, and oh God, figures that I'm drawing a blank on his last name, but we're going to have a new promoter coming on here, Jason, and he will be talking about a big event that's going to be coming up. It's going to be a little while. We're talking not until about June 2013, but you know, I'm going to have him share exactly what he's going to do with this event, and it's going to be pretty cool, man. I'm excited to have him on and have him talk about. I think it's a great idea, and you know, I think that it's kind of been thrown around a little bit before, but anyways, tune in next week, and you'll get more of a lowdown on kind of what I'm talking about.
See, definitely, folks, do want to tune in for that. Be sure to check us out next Friday night for that, and see what else we might drag out of our sleeves. But in the meantime, we'd like to call it a night. Also, it just was announced, Marcus. We're prophetic, I suppose. Eddie Ellis versus Colt Smith on The Ultimate Fighter. Check it out. Anyway, that being said, I'd like to thank our guest for tonight, Michael Chandler, Bellator lightweight champion. Also like to thank our tough correspondent, the aforementioned Colton Smith. And for my co-host, the Irish Hand Grenade, Marcus Davis, for our executive producer, Paul Baker, I'm Jay Pagliaro. We will talk to you next Friday night here on Pull No Punches on the Pull No Punches Radio Network.
Blog Talk Radio, where millions of hosts and listeners gather.